Awesome. Thank you so much. So our next question is, how did you get your first job in tech? And what skills prepared you for that first role? Miguel, did you want to start with that one? How did you land your first MLH fellowship? And what skills prepared you for that?
Yeah, so I said before, let me rewind you back to 2022. So I was basically like chilling like every day with my friends, and he told me like, there is this hackathon we should try and join. And yeah, things went really well. We secured the first place locally for the event, and we also got a global nomination award. So later on, he told me that I should try to apply to the fellowship. He already participated in the fellowship before. And yeah, I tried to apply it with the project that we developed on this hackathon. It was a web application for basically tracking the International Space Station and make some predictions for collisions with any space debris. And I had a lot of background with C++ and Python, and so I mostly focus on the backend side of this project. And yeah, so I applied with this project, and when I got like the acceptation email, I couldn't believe it. So I was really excited. And yeah, so I started in the production engineering track of the MLH fellowship, and it was awesome because it helped me a lot to learn new things, and also all the connections that I got from the fellowship with my mentors at Meta helped me currently to secure a role for this summer.
Oh, nice. Congratulations on securing your role for the summer. That's really exciting. We also host hackathons with MLH, so that's a really good testament to participating in those hackathons and making those connections and using those skills that you're building there to help further your studies and your career as well. Thank you so much for sharing. Joshua?
That was awesome, Miguel. Congrats once again. Um, First job in tech. What skills? I'll I'll rewind back just a little bit, and I'll speak about my first job, one of my first official jobs.
Thank you.
Um, oh, Thanks, Paris. I'll speak on a job that I did in NC State. I used to work for Fountain Dining Hall. I was the dishwasher at Fountain Dining Hall, and it's one of those student jobs. I wanted to have, of course, spare money to go out and have fun and stuff. And it was like my freshman year, and it's like, okay, I never saw that job as my career. It was just like a little side job. But even while I was at the back, working hard, cleaning dishes, and like working with some of my coworkers, I try to bring my best self into it. That makes sense. I try whatever I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. And that was sort of recognized again, oddly. I'm washing dishes here, but like that was sort of recognized by the folks around there. But I worked on my work ethic during that time. And I always explored, which is something I heavily encourage. So I went to every career fair, and I'll talk about that in the later questions and stuff. But I went to a career fair one time through NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. I was a part of that. I networked, I explored as much as possible. And I went on my freshman year. And it was sort of discouraged for you to go to the career fair your freshman year because no one has like tangible course credits or experience that would be attractive to employers for an internship. But I did. I was like, I'm just gonna go to take the nose. I'm just gonna go to find out what they're looking for. And I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of like, hey, look, come back when you're a sophomore or come back when you're a junior. Like this is just way too early. I was about halfway into my first semester as a freshman. And but just that desire to explore and just going around, I ran into like the Toyota booth. And like I said, I did co-op with them, but I didn't know I was about to co-op with them at that time. I spoke to one of the managers. I gave them my little resume with my dishwashing experience on there. And they looked at it and was like, oh, okay. One manager he's looked at it and was like, I don't see anything here. He passed it off to a different manager. The other manager was like, tell me about dishwashing. Like, you want to hear about dishwashing? He's like, yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about, like, how do you deal with the pressure? How do you deal with, like, has any problem come up? And he just sort of asked general questions, and I explained, like, yeah, this issue came up, or one time we didn't have a coworker and we had to pick up the slack, and he asked about how I addressed it. And at the end of it, he's like, hey, come back for an interview. I was like, are you sure? Like, again, I have just dishwashing experience on it. He said, yeah, just come back for an interview. And I came back, and they interviewed me, and they asked me to do the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. And it's just a very simple way to tell a story of a project, a job, an activity that you did, in a way that explains the background, what the goal was, and the steps you took, and what the result was from those steps that you took. And after I did that, they ended up extending me the offer for a co-op. And I did not know that, again, this freshman experience, I did not know that that would snowball, because now that's on my resume. And that's no, I got to, it was a rotational program. So they asked me to do 3 rotations. So I did it. And that snowballed into, like, me being just more experienced and more attractive to other employers, and get more opportunities, which ultimately ended up in Fidelity. So what skills that prepared me was being able to explain my role and what I did. That was a big part of it. And also just being able to explore, network, and try. And sometimes it's tough getting those no's, but it's rewarding to get back up again and try again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joshua. I think that's something that's really important, especially that STAR method. That's something that we've discussed as a part of our cohorts and our trainings as well. Being
Oh,
able
nice.
to really, relate your experiences, explain what you're doing in a way
Huge.
that shows your tangible experiences off of it.
100%.
So thank you so much for saying that. I think that's encouragement. Please, guys, if you haven't already, go back and watch the STAR method
Oh, nice.
interview workshop. And then
Oh, it's helpful. Very helpful.
yes, thank you. Chris, what was your first role in tech, and what experiences led you to be able to secure that role?
Sure. So my first role in tech, I worked for this company called Aon, and I was a configuration analyst. And essentially what I did was I wrote SQL scripts that targeted certain populations. Say, for example, you're administrating some health benefits for a certain population, let's say Puerto Rico or Mississippi. I would write these scripts to make sure you target, the people in the right state, also the right employee classification. So you had executives, you had regular employees. So that was my first job. So how did I get there? So unlike a lot of the other folks on the panel, I didn't have a lot of internships. I actually had none. And I went to engineering school as a non-engineer. So kind of what that means is, like, yeah, you're close to engineering. The engineers go to your school, and people know your school for that. But when they come to your school for recruiting, they're looking for people with that engineering in their majors. My major was electronics. So I found it very difficult to kind of make headways into software engineering or tech. Kind of what my both with my degree or what I was pursuing, and also I guess I would take some of that my lack of preparation. I didn't have a lot of internships. I didn't know kind of what jobs that I could possibly get with my new education. So I ended up getting that position because I was applying on all these different job boards, and a recruiter kind of picked up my resume and said, "Hey, I think this job would be good for the skills you have." I was like, "Okay, what's this job?" He was telling me about it, and then he was like, "You know what? I'll just introduce you to the hiring manager." That manager brought me in. It was on site. We did it was an interview, and it was like an assessment. So she was like, "Okay, SQL, gave me a few scenarios to kind of write it out." I believe she liked what I did, and kind of hired me for that team. Um, what that was, it was a contract position, so I didn't know a lot about employment. I didn't know the difference between contractors and full time. I just know that I wanted to get a job after school, and it was my first job. I believe I graduated that May, and I started working that September. So May through September was rough, but I did make it, landing that first job, and it kind of launched my career from there.
Absolutely, and that shows the importance of networking as well, right? I think that's something that's really important that you highlighted, not really knowing your way, kind of trying to figure it out on your own, and then running across someone who's able to kind of point you in the right direction and connect you with those folks that can kind of help you advance even further. So thank you for sharing. Cynthia?
Yes. So for me, first job in tech and skills that prepared for the role. After graduating, I also wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My undergraduate was in business, but in liberal arts. And all I knew was I have fun solving problems. And so I joined the startup, Just Eat, a food delivery site, as an intern. And they were really small. It was like a one room, everybody in one room, a type of office. And so I got an opportunity to start learning different things in different teams. So because we're very small, I did everything from the customer service to account management to analytics, marketing, sales, pricing, product, being able to also do some testing as well on any of the new product that comes out. And then I found a little bit more in terms of problem solving. That's what I really liked. And so I chose taking a look at directional analytics, a little bit of SQL as well, being able to just pull reports and making sure that it's right with the very limited access that we had in terms of software. And then being able to take a look at ways to really launch the product a little bit better within in Canada. And that got me a little bit more into the product side. So I think in terms of the type of skills that really prepared me was being really curious in that I wasn't locked into one pathway. So I had the opportunity to try different career paths in that one internship, which eventually led into a first job there, and then other jobs after that. And being very open in regardless of title, for instance, of a role, you're able to try different things in that one company.
Thank you for sharing. Something that I heard from all four is just the willingness to throw it all up in the air and see what's out there. I think that's a really super important, especially with tech. Tech is an ever-changing, ever-shifting field. And so being able to kind of station yourself where you are, but then also allow yourself to flow wherever you need to go in order to gain those experiences, explore those new fields, try out those different job titles, even if it's not anywhere near exactly where you started at. So thank you for that. I think that's super important, especially for our participants and our students to hear as they're wrapping up their programs, both within All In for students and All In Africa, and even their college careers as well. So the next question that I have is, what does it mean to scale up the career ladder, and how do you showcase mastery in your skill set? And anyone can start.
I'll volunteer to kick it off while folks are still thinking. Oh, by the way, this is a very interesting question, Paris. This is a little further thinking from folks on our call, like that are in college. Like this is a little a ways out, but it's great to start thinking about this right now. It's huge to scale up and grow in the career ladder. It just means a growth in ownership, responsibility, and like a growth in proactiveness as well. The simplest way I can like put that together is it's a shift from being told what to do to you doing what needs to be done before anyone tells you. That's like the biggest thing. It's the as you move up from internships to entry level to senior principal director, etc., that shift just increases more and more. No one's telling, like when you first start, everyone's telling you what to do to help you out because you're new. And then after a while, when you get the hang of it, you're like able to be like, hey, you know, that code we just checked in is going to create issues down the line. I better work with my senior developer and start coming up with the fix or building new test cases, extra test cases we want to look into. So that's like the biggest shift. You start to have like, oh, I know what to do to make this product. And that ownership is what would help you grow and scale up in the career ladder. To showcase that is it's in the question. You have to showcase that as well in many forms of your resume, LinkedIn, a portfolio. But in terms of working in company, I've been at Fidelity Investments for 5.5 years now. And after a while, you sort of forget what you did last week or forget what you did last month. One of the things that one of my leaders, when I first started at the company, did was ask people, all of his reports, myself included, to start documenting like, hey, per month, just a summary, what did you do this month? And we were supposed to send it to him, and that was going to be put into like a team report. I later on left that team, but I kept that practice because when I wanted to update my resume and I was like, oh, what did I do? What did I do in January? What did I do last year in November? I have all these documents already summarized every month, and it was able to help me just compile and showcase like, hey, here are my skills. This is what I can do. So that's something I encourage. So to scale the career ladder is to have ownership and do what needs to be done versus being told what needs to be done, and then showcase that in the form of portfolios, LinkedIn, like even like IG. Everyone's IG has like a little flavor, has a little brand. Have your brand, own your brand, showcase your brand.
Thank you, Joshua. Does anyone want to go next?
I think so. It's scale up and I guess scaling up in your career. So I can take it from my mindset on what it was when I was in school. So feedback. In school, you get a lot of feedback via grades. How's your GPA doing? How are you doing in school? Another thing that you can keep in mind is you're at a particular school. So you're judged amongst your peers. So everybody at your school, everyone in your college, everyone in your major, you're judged amongst those same folks. So it's like, well, do I need to be the best in the world at a particular skill? No. Do I need to be the best at my university? No. Do I need to be the best in my department? Maybe. And that's something that I strived for when I was in college. I didn't want to be the best in the university, but I want to be the best person in that class. I want to be the best person, in that skill set. And it kind of trickled into when I came to work. It's like, okay, who are my peers? The peers were some of the folks that I started with. I was like, okay, I want to know as much as they do. If they're doing something I'm not doing, I want to start doing those things. So I found myself working just to understand the nature of the business. So what we do in tech is we know all about the tech, but we forget why we're doing it. Like we forget that technology is just an apparatus to move business forward. So when I started to notice like, okay, well, what are the things that are valuable? What are the things that matter? I want to do those things. I'm highly interested in cloud technologies, front end technologies, but the bottom line for the product that doesn't matter much. What matters is how many participants are we getting? Are we hitting our numbers, our goals? I started to kind of align myself with those things, and I started to see my career kind of taking off from there. I'd say as far as mastery of skills, I think it's a study that says you master your job in 2 years. And what I've seen every 2 years, I'm looking for something different. If it's not promotion, it may be another business unit or another technology. So I'm always challenging myself to do more, and then just try to be the best at my job in that time frame, and then look to do something else. That's kind of how I've elevated or moved up in my career, and it's also something that's personal. So your manager, sure, they're gonna have your best interests to move up, but only you know where you want to go. So you have to be the leader of your own destiny. And if you're interested in something that isn't necessarily what you're doing right now, you will find different ways to get more exposure to that, and then start to move over to that direction. I want to say that those are some things that I've done over time. I started from college till now. What's helped me in my career and moving up.
Thank you, Chris. Cynthia or Miguel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go next. For me, I think this question made me think about being really open to other career paths and other companies. Technology is in a lot of things, so it's not just purely in like the big tech company. It could be in any small organization, in the social sector organization, being able to build solutions for beneficiaries, people who are in a community that really need support. There's a large community and a career path there. The job market's going to look very different in just a year, 2 years. So just because how it looks like now, it'll change and it'll always look different. So the titles, the roles, what a job looks like will be different. So don't be so strict in planning out. This is how a career path will look like. Like, for example, different positions, different titles, that'll change. And I think also being able to showcase your skill set, taking on external projects. Throughout my career, I've always either volunteered at on a board for a nonprofit, and being able to work with them to be able to create solutions, whether using tech, to be able to solve something that they have or on the strategy side. And as a result, I was able to network with organizations in my community, being able to learn different skills, building dashboards for them, for instance. And I felt in my head a safer space to do that. If I was volunteering, then it didn't feel as much pressure than just at my job where I felt like I'm being graded all the time, or there's other pieces that I need to depend on. So with the volunteering piece, it felt a much safer space in my head. It was still very impactful. There's an impact in what I created. That's one way if you're looking to be able to try out a skill set and be able to practice that. I found that very helpful.
Thank you for sharing, Cynthia. Miguel?
Yeah, well, I am still in the process of scaling up. I can definitely echo everything that Cynthia, Joshua, and Chris have said because that's basically what I aspire for. And so I think all those things came mostly from experience because I can definitely say that even really simple problems, I don't attack them the same way that I did before joining the tech industry. And that's from all the mentorships, courses, and things that I have taken because when you get to the opportunity to see how other people think and other people go through some kind of problems, is where you start to learn a lot more because there were some times where my mentors got like a really clever way to solve a problem that I will never think about. And those kind of things that you gain from experience are the most exciting to me. And also, I see it as a journey of continuous growth and development. And as Cynthia said, you need to be really flexible because we are in a really fast-paced changing industry. So that's one of the things that could help you the most.
Thank you for sharing, Miguel. Our next question is, what are the skills and attributes of someone who would want to have your job? And I would take that as the job that you currently have or another role that you have that you felt that was impactful throughout your career as well. And anyone can start.
I'll start here. And I'll start with my current position. So I'm in management, and I manage a lot of technical people, their careers, their issues. I'd say some skills or some things that you would probably start to look into is empathy. So, I like to start with people first. then applications, then processes. But a lot of things that we do it's a people business. So we get into technology, we get into these things to where it's, you're working on things that are very empirical, like you input this and this is the output. But people are a little bit different. People have emotions, people have desires. Um, I think having empathy for a lot of people's unique situations is one. Another thing is the ability to be versatile. So not one of my days are the same. Um, I can walk into the office on a Monday and expect something to happen, but I can tell you that day will change based on what's going on wherever in my portfolio. So I think having versatility and just being able to handle different things when they come up, but also on the other side of that, trying to plan, 6 months, 12 months out. So having that short vision and also long-term vision, because sometimes, all those things that go haywire are not always going to be going haywire. It's going to be times to where you have time to plan, time for you to start to execute. So I think some skills there is having, start to develop like plans that are short and long-term towards whatever it is you're trying to do. Those are some of the things that I personally have started to hone in on as becoming a manager who used to be on the tech side. I used to be in the code. Now I'm becoming a manager. I kind of see myself doing less coding, kind of out of the code completely, and more guidance, more empathy-based management.
Thank you for sharing, Chris.
I can go next, maybe. So as I said, I think one of the hardest skills that I needed to develop was the adaptability to fast-paced environments, and I think one of the most important things is just the eagerness to learn, because right now I am on that phase where you are not an expert on what you are doing, but you need to have that eagerness to learn new things, to take on new challenges, and just to try. And sometimes things just don't work, but that's like the best way to learn. And I will say, well, I do a lot of coding, but I think if you are like some kind proficient in one language and you understand like the basis of logic, that would be more than enough. And yeah.
Thank you, Miguel.
I can go next. I think a couple skills and attributes come to mind. One is taking a risk in your own skill set. In other words, it's okay, you don't know everything in one particular field, but really taking that risk and saying, I think this is perhaps the best way to do it, and just trying it, knowing that it's okay if something fails a little bit or takes a little bit longer to be able to get a solution. And I think that part of not being too hesitant to take a risk, especially starting out, you're not going to know everything, and that's okay. And I think the second one is just try to find out how your role can help another team's problem. It might be hard to really see the bigger picture in the very beginning, but really trying to see, oh, what I'm working on right now could actually really help this other organization or another team, which involves a lot of, again, the networking part, which can be tough, but it's being able to see how your skills can actually help a lot of other different teams too.
Thank you, Cynthia. Joshua?
All the great answers have been said. What am I supposed to add to this now? Cynthia covered networking, Miguel, flexible, willing to learn, Chris being adaptable and flexible. These are all great. All right, I'll add one more, and pardon my internet in case I come off choppy here. I'll add passion. I believe, like, if you really want to go far, you gotta at least enjoy what you do. And I'll speak more about that later as well. But like, passion is huge for me, specifically my role as a user experience designer. The desire to create great experiences is like foundational. Chris talked about it perfectly. It's empathy. You have to put yourself in the customer's shoes and be like, oh, I can see where things went wrong in that not being a great experience. What can I do to make that better? But you have to start with that passion to be willing to go check out and go see what can be improved from the customer's lens. Specifically in my career, like I've talked about bad apps, but in my case, it's a little bit of it's a little bit poetic of like, oh, like the app didn't work right or something. One of the reasons why I'm in my role, or I was driven to my role, was I'm that one user that would just always do the wrong action at the wrong time. Like, you know, those sites is like, don't use the back button, I'll forget. I'll use the back button and boom, all my forms, like the information's gone. Or there's a meme that's trending about like a pet peeve is when you upload your resume to a job application site, and then on the next page, they ask you to type all that stuff in. And it's like, okay, what are we really doing here? Having that passion to create great experiences for customers is what is a skill that's directly attributed to my current job. Miguel touched on this as well, flexibility and the willing to learn. I will add just a little bit to that. This is a weird ability, but the ability to fail and try again. It may sound odd, it may sound, you know, off-putting. You know, as a society, you know, we don't really root for when things go wrong, but it's very important because that's how you learn, like Miguel actually put. In my case, like others on this call, like there's something new every day, and it's sometimes almost impossible for you to master everything or be good at everything. I truly believe one of the measures of a great worker, leader, person is not just how they react when things go right, but how they react or how they come back when things go wrong. It's that last step that really determines your character as well. So passion and be willing to fail, but get back up and try again and grow.
Thank you. You guys provided some really insightful answers for that question. I really like those answers, being able to, you know, kind of have that empathy, getting up and trying again, exploring. Those are really good things, especially as our students and our participants, again, go through this journey of learning open source and trying these different projects and attending these hackathons. I think that's really solid advice to push them over the edge towards those internships and career opportunities. Our second to last question from myself, and then we'll open it up for the audience. Imagine if you were a sophomore or junior in college right now. What advice would you give to yourself, and what do you wish someone would have told you? And anyone can start.
I can get started. I think looking back, advice I would give myself that each career move isn't a wrong one. I remember starting out and having to decide between two different job offers at the time. And I think back, it's like, oh, if I went one route, that means I'm stuck in the financial industry. I won't be able to do something else. And I was really worried about that I would be pigeonholed into one career. But now looking back, I could have ended up where I am now, regardless of which direction I went in. So I think yeah, definitely that it's okay, regardless of which step you take. You can still find a different type of journey. And also, secondly, getting a mentor. I hear that a lot, and I feel like, oh yeah, I tried it. I chatted with somebody, but then really that it took time, and then really trying to find different mentors for different things helped a little bit better. I think those are the two that come to mind.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I like to pile on to what Cynthia was saying about mentors. So a lot of times we look at mentors like, hey, can you be my mentor? It's like this whole formal thing. I believe in the concept, or I like to push the concept of informal mentors. They don't have to know they're your mentor. You know, you can go to them for certain things. Maybe it's to bounce ideas off of. Maybe it's to, hey, can you look over this and see how see how I'm approaching this thing. I'd say that. So if you can't find someone in the industry you're looking for, somebody in another industry could still help you. They still have leadership skills and other, transferable skills that can help you moving forward. So it doesn't have to be somebody directly in the path of where you want to be, and they don't have to be a formal mentor. Another thing in that is peer mentorship. I think the beauty of talking to your classmates, seeing what they're doing, what internships are they going to, how are they positioning themselves for graduation, and then finding roles or positions when they graduate. So I think those two things, if I was to go back and tell myself, it'll give me a lot more confidence that the skills that I'm developing can be used somewhere. It may not be a direct path, but a lot of things that you're doing will be used at some point. So I think it was more the motivation and kind of the pep talk for me, and then also the informal mentors that can help.
Thank you, Chris. Joshua?
Yeah, that's huge. Chris and Cynthia touched on two things that are really important, which is like, it's okay, your path can be flexible. Like, it's all right. Like, even this question, what advice would I give to my sophomore, junior self? I'm a big proponent of like, nothing. Don't mess with the timeline. Like, hey, things are going great. I don't know what could have happened if I messed with that timeline. So it's okay to be where you are in your current trajectory. I'll add on to that. Find what you love, do what you love. This is, I've touched on this before. This is a little tough because in college, you're just learning. It's just information coming towards you every day in every different class. Try to pay attention to yourself. Like, which classes did you enjoy more? Which projects did you enjoy more? There are people that I know in college and beyond college that programming is just amazing to them. They love solving complex problems. Like, they solve this stuff in their sleep. They dream in code. Like, it's insane. I'm like, how can I compete with that? This is ridiculous. They love what they do, and that was something I wanted for myself as well. I in college, when I realized I wanted to do user experience design in my final semester with 6 credit hours left to obtain my 2 degrees in computer engineering and electrical engineering. It was a difficult time to change my entire college career in that moment. So if there was something I would do, I would like whisper in my sophomore self's ear of like, hey, maybe this user experience design thing is something you're interested in, but I don't think my stubborn sophomore self would listen either way. So I can't mess with the timeline. I fixed it later on. One of the things that I did do was explore during college a lot. I networked a lot, so I encourage folks to sophomore and junior is prime time to explore. When I found how I knew I wanted to user experience design was I found the class that was on design, and I just went for one session. I was like, what is this thing? I think I like it, but I don't know. And I went for one class and I realized like, oh, this is fantastic. They talked about just user experience things that like I resonated with, just daily things like a microwave. How many buttons on a microwave do you use? Like, people just use the 30 seconds, or if they're feeling fancy, they'll put the timer for like 1 minute or a specific time. But buttons like the popcorn, pizza, defrost, most people don't know. Most people don't know how to work those things. And I was just blown away by these stories of like, oh, like we can improve our experiences in anything you do. And that's something I wish that like I paid attention to, because I found out I enjoyed all of my programming classes, but I spent 90% of my time in these programming classes working on the UI, working on the user experience. And then 10% was functional code. I built like a calculator that wasn't working properly, but it looked great. It was easy to use, but I had to like partner up with somebody else to fix all those functions. So you got to merge those two, of form and function as well. Last 2 things really quickly: prep now to rest later. Like, if you're in, like, you're already if sophomore junior year level, go to every single career fair. Just go, just try it out, just test it out, prep your resume. It's okay to get no's. If you're already here in this call, you're already doing that. You're being proactive and you're learning more about opportunities to come for you in the future. Last thing, finish. Get the degree. That's one advice I would give to my sophomore and junior self. you have to finish, or it's very encouraging to finish. Yes, there are other alternatives and there are online options, but I've spoken to a lot of recruiters, and I used to recruit as well. And one of the things that's agreed upon is that the degree, like I don't use my computer engineering degree, but I use skills that I have from those classes, skills from my internships, skills from my past experiences. My degree is like a certificate to say that I can see things through. That's what that means to recruiters. You can learn and see things through. There's a huge advantage. So please persevere. Please finish a degree.
Thank you, Joshua. Miguel, did you have anything that you wanted to share from your current experiences that you have an outlook on?
Yeah, so as Joshua said, I will say the most important step is to try. Start trying. Doesn't matter if you don't get the role, you don't get the job. I think that's the most easy way to start building confidence on your skills, on yourself, and that's the best way to like find where is room for improvement. And I have like really talented friends that don't even try, and I am like, why are you not trying? You are like one of the most skilled people that I know. So if you are here, you are really proactive, you are trying, so that's really nice coming from you. And also I will say, if you are maybe freshman or sophomore, there are a lot of programs especially dedicated to you, so take advantage of those, because I started from a hackathon. I started in tech, I think, kind of late, so I would love if someone told me before about those kind of programs. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Miguel. And then the final question that I have for the panel before we open it up to the audience is, what are you passionate about in your current role, and how do you work to ensure that you're able to continue to explore those passions? Did anyone can start?
I'll start. One of the things that I'm passionate about my role, if it hasn't been clear so far, is just having customer delight, like having things work, like getting things to actually work as intended. Like I've talked about the whole smartphones things, like our smartphones get us. Like they understand us sometimes more than we understand ourselves. Like some of these algorithms are like crazy because they've learned from you. So just being passionate about learning about your customer and creating an experience to match that. You got to be passionate about what you do, which is huge. One of the things that I've told others in terms of career advice is one of the worst spots to be in a career is being good at something that you don't like. Sounds odd, but being good at something that you don't like will make it hard for you to leave. If you are bad at something you don't like, you're gonna want to leave at any time. And it's better for you to be um bad at something but you do like is in a lot better spot. Having passion can drive you to learn and be better and eventually get good at that job that you like. So the goal is to be good at something that you do like, but the second stage is being okay with being bad at something, but you like it. It takes time, like Chris said, 2 years before you master the job. It may take some time, but if you like that thing, it's only gonna give you rewards, mental, like just healthier rewards in your mental state in the future.
Thank you, Joshua.
Have
Can I
a,
ask? Oh, okay.
go ahead,
Please.
Cynthia.
No, please.
Uh-oh, I think Chris, you can go.
Okay, I'll go. So I'm passionate about helping others achieve their goals. Sounds, I guess, cliche being a manager, but I truly do like seeing people achieve whatever goal it is. If it's a product goal, if it's a technology goal, we move a lot of, what we call legacy technologies to modern stacks. So we have a lot of business surrounding that, but I like to be somebody to help move that thing from a certain state to the next. Then also with people, people are, looking to do different things, different roles, different jobs, promotions. I really do get a lot out of helping someone achieve their goals. And that's 100% what I'm passionate about.
Thank you, Chris. Cynthia?
Yeah, I think definitely to add on what Chris mentioned on that passion part, I think being able to help other people achieve their goals and be able to see um other organizations that create tech for social good, being able to anything from the government of Brazil, looking for the best place to build schools for a data modeling type of project, or to UN agencies on being able to provide funding, where to deploy people to help humanitarian aid workers where they should go during disaster before a disaster happens. Being able to work on projects like that, I think that's what really excites me, and that it's open source, so anybody can contribute. I mentioned it before, but I also definitely want to highlight it for anybody who joined later. The link for some of the issues that anybody is interested in contributing to. The For Good First Issue project. That's been a lot of fun, and that's one way where I can continue to explore my passions.
Thank you, Cynthia. Miguel?
Yeah, I think everything that I was about to say was already mentioned, but yeah, I will say passion for learning is one of the most important things. And as John says before, I really love to solve problems. I am one of those guys that maybe I am trying to solve a problem. I don't get the solution. I go to sleep and mid-dream, I think I got the solution. I woke up, I try it, and it doesn't work. But yeah, I constantly feel that. So yeah, I think if you do what you like, if you enjoy what you like, that's like the most important thing.
Thank you so much, Miguel, and panelists as well. Now is our opportunity to take questions from our participants. Did anyone have any questions that weren't covered? Oh, we do have someone. Go ahead. Monsif. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Please feel free to correct me.
Um, Hello. I'm not
Yes.
sure if you can see me.
Yes, we can see and hear you.
Okay. First of all, hello everyone. Thank you so much for this amazing session. It was so much information, and like, God bless you all. I wanna ask so much question until like the sun go down, but to not take from your time, I will choose one question which is like important for me, especially in this period. So like, we are like all human, right? So soul in the body experience this life, and sometime in life we get to this point where like energy drop down, and we feel very low, and that may impact our creativity or like hunger and passion and decision. I would like, if possible, to share from like from your personal life, if you don't mind, how you guys deal with that, and how you keep this hunger to keep learning tech and be passion. How do you deal with that drop of energy? Thank you so much.
That's a really good question. Thank you.
That's a big question. I'll try to make it
I'm
smaller
sorry.
for me. So personal life, things that happen in my personal life versus work. Is that kind of where your question is heading towards? And how do you stay motivated at work? Is that
Like in general in life, you can touch on anything. Like, so at some point in life, we get this drop of energy, right? What are the things that you do practically, or like maybe, for example, meditation, sport, or whatever? Like, what are like the strategy you have to deal with that um drop of energy in your life? Something we can like implement.
got it? So for me, I personally go back to some of my roots in so in high school I wrestled. That taught me a lot of things. It taught me discipline for eating, taught me discipline for when you go out on the wrestling mat, it's just you and your opponent. So you have a team, they help you practice, They help you, prepare for that match, that battle. But it's you that's by yourself whenever you're in the match. Some things that I took from that when I got to college, I got into, I want to say, weightlifting. So I do a lot of weightlifting.
Yeah.
And that motivation kind of went away once you achieve a certain goals. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
look okay. My weight's fine. My health is fine. Kind of in the pandemic, I saw myself kind of lose a lot of those things that I used to have. I went from somebody who used to run every day to somebody who, I think I gained up to like 30 pounds during the pandemic at the height of it. So I kind of lost that passion for exercise and just being healthy. On the other side of that, I kind of put more into work. This is when I started to discover, hey, what do I want to do at work? Like I used to do, I used to be in software development. I wanted to get into management. So I kind of flipped to putting my energy into work. I think for me, it's motivation is seasonal. So one thing that motivated me before is not going to motivate me going forward. So I started to get into reading books. I got into, uh, as a, I'll say this, as a Black male, I was very hesitant to do therapy. But now I do therapy. I do different types of therapy, wellness coaching, all those things. So I think me kind of releasing the things that I used to be and looking forward to the things that I can become. I started to get into more things that I didn't necessarily know about before or even practice. So every so often, I try something new or I'd read something new. More recently, I tried this program called 75 Hard. It's like where you do exercise inside, outside, the same day. You drink a gallon of water, you read 10 pages of a book. And I just did that for that short amount of time, but it was something so new for me that I was super motivated to complete it. And I find that if I keep doing these things that are new, I keep getting that motivation that can last me, for a duration of time.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you.
Maybe I can go next. So for myself, whenever I feel like I am lacking of energy or something like that, I will say take a break and try to reset. Sometimes all you need is to disconnect for a bit, whether it's to go for a quick walk outside, a few moments of meditation, or just try or do something that you like. For my example, I really like video games, so whenever I feel like I am not I'm not feeling that good, I try to play with my friends for a while. Also, I also like to seek for inspiration, whether it's like watching to tech talks about motivation or stuff like that. I really like that, and try to focus on the purpose and why you are passionate about what you are doing. Try to remind to yourself the bigger picture and the reasons for why you are doing the things that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you. So we are going to go to our next question, which is from Ashley. Ashley actually has secured an internship this summer with Fidelity. So super excited to see her in the chat and here with you guys today. Ashley said, thank you all for sharing about your journeys. I love the emphasis on networking and was wondering what questions you wish people would ask you more when you're in networking calls, coffee chats, etc.
I can get started on that one. I think that it's a relationship that you're building. Before, when I first started out, I'd be, okay, I had one chat with someone, half an hour, okay, I'm done. And then, but realizing, no, I should be following their career, supporting their career too. In, for instance, whoever it may be, if they have a conference somewhere or if they have a talk, and then be able to support them. Because it's a two-way type of conversation and being able to help them in something too. Especially starting out, I don't know how I can help someone else's career, but eventually as I grew further in my career, it's like, oh, I can help someone else that I chatted with a couple years ago in this other thing. That it's not just a one conversation, it's becomes multiple conversations over many years.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I'll piggyback off Cynthia. Yeah, so it's like one of the things like with these networking events, like Cynthia said, like it's a two-way street to get to know them. One of the questions that I wish, and it's like a theme of questions that I wish folks to ask more, is about themselves. Like we just learned about like Miguel plays video games. I was like, that's cool. Chris works out 75 hard. Like that's interesting. One of the things that I try to do, like from Cynthia's standpoint, is like when I do speak to folks that I'm networking, I try to like ask about those questions. At the end of the day, we're humans, we're people, we have things we enjoy, and no matter what we do, whenever we go to work, we can only turn off that part of ourselves like only for a little bit. It's still there. We still or gravitate towards the things we enjoy. So I try to ask questions about the things they enjoy.
That's a good tip. Thank you, Joshua. Next question. Especially early on in tech, you mostly get to work on small scoped tasks, and sometimes that can lead to a feeling of doing a lot, but feeling like you're not having that much impact or being fulfilled. And this is something that can lead to feeling burned out. What's your take on this, and how do you navigate the feeling of being burnt out and demotivation?
I'll start really quick. Miguel and Chris put it perfectly. Got to take a break. Those moments are momentarily. They're moments. They're short, but you got to take a break and dedicate that time to yourself. When I was in college, like I was stressed a lot, and I did not know how much stress it was gonna be as the years went on. Like I had this like running break that I would have to just like watch a movie during lunch. That was what I want. So I would watch freshman year, I would have lunch and I watch this like, 1.5, 2 hour long movie. And then like, okay, I started to run out of time by sophomore year, that cut down to about like a 40-minute show, 40-minute episode or so. Then like my junior year, and I was like, okay, I have less time now. That cut down to about 20 minutes, a little bit, like a 20-minute show, like an anime episode or so. By my senior year, I was like, okay, I'm watching like you 10 minutes long now with my lunch. I spent 5 years at NC State. By my super senior year, I was eating lunch on the go. There was no more time, quote unquote, to like watch something and sit down. But we need to make time. It was temporarily. And one of my favorite features on my phone is the do not disturb button. Like you get blown up every day with notifications and it can get overwhelming and it just adds to your stress. Sometimes you just need an hour or two dedicated to your time, to yourself and your time, and just take that time to just rest, relax, and recoup.
Thank you, Joshua.
What was the original question?
Basically, how do you deal with having that feeling of being burnt out, and how do you navigate being unmotivated?
Yes, that one's big. We actually have this principle at Fidelity. It's called "Tell it like it is." And for me, I think of it almost like code switching. Like you've been doing a certain thing, and maybe you haven't said anything about it. Just like, okay, yep, this is my job, and this is what I should be doing without saying much about it. But I think once you get to the point of I'm tired of doing X or I'm overwhelmed, I think that's when you got to say something. I found myself in that situation just last year, summertime. Um, One of the managers on my team left. We were in search of another manager, so I was kind of playing dual roles. And I kind of sat down with my manager. I was like, "Look, I'm overwhelmed. I have too much going on. I can't focus over here. I need to kind of put something off." And then we went through this concept of stop, start, resume. So we started to look at the items that I was doing, and then I found out, hey, I could stop doing that. I should stop doing that. And then we had some items that personnel based. I just had to resume. And then we discovered a few items that I could start to do to start to relieve myself from some of the things that I found were burdens on the past. So I think what I would say is make sure you're telling someone. If you're feeling burnt out, make sure you're telling somebody like, hey, I can't do X anymore. Can we figure out a new solution? I think that definitely helped me out last year, and I'm still rolling with that now. I feel a lot better. New year, I feel fresher having had that conversation.
Thank you, Chris. Our next question is, how does mentorship work and how often should I connect with the connections I made on LinkedIn?
I can help answer that in one way. There's really no set
Right.
path. I don't think there's like certain steps because everybody is different. It's really more of building that relationship. So it depends on how often you feel comfortable and the other person feels comfortable connecting. Sometimes you might not chat for a few months, like a few times a year, or and having different like a previous the question previously, having different mentors for different topics, different problems, a work one outside of work, something completely different. Previous managers, I found have been great for mentorship because they know your working style and you already have a set relationship. So I'd say it depends on the other person's availability, what they're comfortable with, and being able to just regular check in with them once in a while. I think that is a good cadence and it's not a set formula.
I agree. Thank you, Cynthia. Okay. The next question is, what are some things that are important to you that you enjoy outside of work, and how do you maintain them? And then how do you navigate and structure your priorities? So outside of work.
I'll start. Like Chris, I work out as well. Big into just staying fit. I'm a regular at CrossFit. Just trying to stay healthy. So that's something huge. Like Miguel, I play video games as well. I have a PS5 going through Ghost of Tsushima one more time, and I have this like a backlog of a bunch of games because I missed out on playing them while I was busy in college. So that's something that I also do as well. But the biggest thing is just prioritizing friends and family. I try to make my friends and family make sure they feel seen by me. And even if I have to like fly out to another city, I try to hang out with them when I can, and be there for them when I can as well. It helps me relax when I'm around my loved ones.
Thank you, Joshua. And then our final question, sometimes it's very difficult for people to take remote opportunities because of their location. Do you have open source opportunities, job opportunities, intern opportunities for underrepresented people like Africa, or any other advices to advance their career, especially for junior or entry level developers?
Yes. So previously last year, GitHub launched their Digital Public Goods Community Manager program, which was a training program remotely for anybody interested in becoming a community manager for open source projects. And we're hoping to do so again this year. We're hoping to launch in the spring sometime. I can send a link on the previous year's program, just give an overview on what it was. It's completely remote. It's a training program that is an opportunity to connect with other open source projects. At this time, it is a voluntary based opportunity, but a good way to network and get to know other individuals that are in the open source space. I can share the link as well.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah, Fidelity, it's a mix. Some roles are fully remote. It's a little bit rarer. We're hybrid and we're trying to balance, but we have multiple different branches. Chris is in Durham, North Carolina, near Raleigh, North Carolina. I am in Dallas, Texas. The branch is in Westlake. So the different branches to come in. I apologize, I can't speak about more global opportunities specifically in Africa. Chris, if you have information, like feel free to chime in. But shameless plug, we have a lot of programs that are hybrid, as well to help facilitate that. The Fidelity internship is 10 weeks long, and it's like an intro to reinforcing those skills that you learned about in school. The deadline to apply is September, and it's a wide range of departments that are offered in HR, engineering, product, and it's skills from systems engineering to software engineering and more. That's for like while you're in college. Post-college, we have another hybrid opportunity as well. I believe they were fully remote for the past couple of years, is the Fidelity Leap program. Again, this is for folks that have graduated, ideally in a computer science or computer science adjacent degree. If you're a programmer, you will most likely be qualified, even if your degree is in mathematics. It's a full-time job offer at Fidelity, but it starts you off with like an 18-week program to help you assimilate into the work environment, understand the code bases that are around, the software that's there, introduce you to agile frameworks, how to present your projects, etc. It's like an excellent on-ramp of your career to introduce you into like best software development practices. Fields include systems engineering, mobile engineering, data engineering, and of course, software engineering. But we are, like, as a company, they are moving towards that model of hybrid. So right now we're currently 1 week in the office and then 3 weeks out of the office. That is updating, that is changing so far, but we're still holding on to this hybrid model for the time being.
Thank you, Joshua. Chris, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
So some things I'd add is we don't operate in any of the countries in Africa. We do have offices it's on a global basis. So we have some in China, India, Ireland, and various sites in the US. So as far as remote opportunities, I think those are kind of going away. And, you know, as Joshua was saying, it's probably more into the hybrid model to where you're in office for a couple weeks, out of office for others. Yeah, I think that's the piece I'd add on the remote opportunities.
Thank you so much for sharing, Chris. And Sarah, who is the program lead for All In for Students, put a note in the chat. Stay tuned. The All In team will continue to share opportunities with our partner organizations that are available for graduates from All In Africa and All In for Students programs. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an amazing conversation. I learned a lot, and so I know that our participants and our students have learned a lot as well. I really want to thank you for being here. Speaking of those connection opportunities and connecting with people afterwards, I am going to share this slide, but everyone did share their LinkedIns with us, and so we will go ahead and share this out after our call today. One final thing that I did want to remind everyone about is that both of our programs are wrapping. So All In Africa will have their graduation ceremony tomorrow. So congratulations to all of those that are finishing up the All In Africa program. And then we are 2 weeks out from when everything is due for All In for Students for the course curriculum. So take these last 2 weeks up until March 15th to finish strong. And then we will have more information coming out to you for All In for Students graduation ceremony, which will be March 27th. Sarah, I see that you are still on. Did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, I just want to thank the panel. Well, I guess, yes, as I continue to speak, thank you so much to our incredible panel. It's been such a pleasure to sit back and take this all in. And thank you so much, Paris, for coordinating this fantastic discussion, and to all of you participants for staying on for this full hour and a half. We're really excited for you to continue to network with these amazing people as we go into the speed networking event. So thank you again, everyone. This is incredible.
Yes, absolutely. One final reminder, I did send over our Excel sheet that links you to, for those that signed up for speed networking. So you do have that sheet in your email with the link to join your mentoring session, your mentor's name, as well as their LinkedIn as well to connect with in the future. So all things that we touched on today, make sure you definitely take advantage of what these sessions have to offer. Thank you everyone again so much for joining us, and I hope that you all have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.